Well, well, well. The Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks are not going to like this. Because, as announced 4 minutes ago by Elliot Friedman on Twitter, Adrian Kempe and the LA Kings have agreed on an 8-year extension at an AAV of 10.625. And here's the thing that I wanted to say at the beginning of this video. I feel like my brain has kind of been calibrated properly to the status quo of what the new NHL is. Not only did I look at Adrian Kempe's new deal and I said, oh, wait a minute, that's actually cheap. But I then took a step back and I was like, hey, wait a minute. 10.625. That's not supposed to be cheap, right? It's cheap now, comparative to some of the other contracts we have seen get handed out. But Adrian Kempe, as a guy who, right now, is on pace for what would be his first point-per-game season, is going to be on the books for the next 8 years. And this is, of course, one of the last 8-year contracts that we are going to be able to see in the National Hockey League. They're going away after a certain amount of time, so you got to go out there and get your contracts done if you want to keep guys around for the long term now. Kempe and the Kings will be on until Kempe turns 37 years old. So he is really in for the long haul. Potentially, this is the last contract he'll ever sign. If he ends up playing beyond 37, then okay, he'll get another one, maybe short-term around that time frame. But right now, the 6'2", 201 left-handed winger center is on a $5.5 million AAV contract. Honestly, a steal. You think about him making $2 million for 3 years, and then $5.5 million for 4 years. I mean, you were getting 70-plus points out of this guy at 5'5" for so long. It was about time you gave him a pay raise. And this season, of course, Kempe has been one of the bright spots for LA in the points department. You take a look at it, he does lead the team. Quinton Byfield is second, Fiala and Corey Perry follow shortly after. Please, Perry, start to produce a little bit more. I have you in fantasy, and he's been kind of faltering a little bit. But Kempe, if you take a look at the projected numbers, AFP Analytics went out there and said, this comes in well above our projection from May. However, the market has just shifted, and we expected Kempe $800,000 less than Montreal. The AAV is just about that. AFP projected Kempe to be getting about $9.175 million over 7 years, so he ends up getting just a shade above that for 1 more year. It's kind of reasonable there when you look at the mathematics. Comparable players and contracts go as follows. You have Jake Guentzel at the bottom, who ended up signing $9 million a year for 8 years. That was a 10.23% of the cap back in the day. Adrian Kempe's new deal is 10.22% of the cap. So it's a very similar deal to what Guentzel got just a while ago. And Guentzel got 9. So Kempe at 10.6 is very fair when you look at that. Max Pacioretty, Brad Marchand, these are also similar contracts, but of course those were signed a lot further back into the past, and so the percentage of the cap and the number itself is a little bit lower. But this is kind of the new NHL, man. You take a look at Kempe, you look at Necas, you look at Rantanen, Kyle Connor. 12 is the new 9.5, I guess. And 10.625 is the new 9. Does that work? No, that really doesn't work mathematically. 12 is the new 10, and 10.5 is the new 9. I'm not sure what I'm talking about here either way, but good on the LA Kings. I'd say that this is a pretty good move for their future. I'd say that Adrian Kempe, along with some of the other top-tier players in LA, they've been developing chemistry. And hopefully, he's able to stay healthy. Hopefully he gets a full 82 and is able to put up that point-per-game campaign. I do think that if Kempe was on a better team, he would have probably hit point per game, 82 points in a season by now. Not to say that the LA Kings are bad, but it's just, there are better opportunities when you play with other players, I'd say. Like, for example, Elias Pettersson or Connor McDavid. We had seen rumors linking Kempe to a bunch of different teams in Western Canada because, oh, McDavid needs a winger. Oh, Elias Pettersson needs a winger, and he happens to be Swedish, and he's good friends with Adrian Kempe here. So obviously, the Canucks angle of it was an interesting thing to dive into. It's kind of funny here. If you go over to the Friedman tweet, you'll see a lot of folks going out there and saying like, oh, Oilers, the Kings will eliminate the Oilers. Why is he discounting to lose to the Oilers? I thought he was an Oiler. Everybody's talking about the gosh darn Edmonton Oilers because the idea was Kempe would become a free agent and he would provide significant value to any team willing to look at him in July. But as some of these other posts are saying, there isn't going to be a good free agent class for a while until players get paid and take up more cap. Teams are more willing to spend the extra money to keep their guy because they have the space. And that is essentially what we're seeing here. We're noticing a lot nowadays, especially in the free agent period of 2025. Teams, if given the money, just want to keep the guys they have. I'd say that most NHL teams are generally happy with the way their teams are constructed. Unless you're Vancouver and you're looking for a center, you need some extra support there. Adrian Kempe is a winger, but he can play center. And, of course, if you were acquiring Kempe, he would probably be alongside of Elias Pettersson. You would want that scoring touch there. Pretty much doing more so of what Jake DeBrusk should be able to do. But the idea of getting more money into hands of these teams just makes it a lot more difficult to fully explore free agency in that way, because all these teams are just going to shell out money to the guys they already have. We saw this with Tavares, we saw this with Bennett, we saw it with Marchand, we saw it with Ekblad, we saw it with Besser. We're seeing it with Connor, we saw it with Kaprizov, we saw it with Necas, Rantanen, now Kempe. The free agent class of 2026 is going to be very scarce. And if we try to take a look at this here, let's look over here on puckpedia.com at 2026 free agents. Let's view all the players over here. So in terms of money, the highest paid guys that are going to be free agents next year, you've got Artemi Panarin, Alex Ovechkin, Patrick Laine, John Carlson, Jacob Trouba. Okay, this is totally underwhelming compared to what we thought we were going to see out of the 2026 free agency class. I guess there's just going to be a bidding war for 34-year-old Artemi Panarin and potentially Patrick Laine if the guy ever gets healthy. So, yeah, no, nobody here is like in that prime old age range either. I'd say the youngest guy is Nick Schmaltz, who had a really hot start to the year. I mean, he's still at over a point per game, but who has started to falter a little bit in terms of the points, I'd say. Utah hasn't been as dominant as of late compared to the beginning of the year. Schmaltz is 29, Christian Dvorak's 29, Alex Tuch, okay, he's there, he's also available, 29 years old too, Rasmus Andersson, okay, so there are still some names, but obviously, you know, this is lacking in star power compared to Adrian Kempe and Connor and Kaprizov and Necas. There's a lot to take in when it comes to the new NHL, and I guess this contract will be one of the main ones that just kind of enforces that status quo. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the LA Kings signing Adrian Kempe? 8 years, 10.625 mil. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.